Paul D'Angelo from D'Angelo Legal. How are you today?
Hello, mate. How are you, Paul?
Going really well, thank you. Thanks for joining us.
Pleasure.
Yeah, just a quick update for our listeners. What do you do, and when did you start?
Good question. What do we do? Well, we're a full-service law firm. We've got four main sort of pillars or divisions, for want of a better word, and that includes our family law division, our personal injury division, commercial arm, and a litigation arm. And we've also do quite a bit in the property market space and wills and estates. We started 2005. Sorry, not 2005, but that's 15 years ago. So we said nearly 15 years ago, and we've been going, yeah, ever since.
And pumping along nicely. You've got a decent sized team, and
Yeah, we've got a
you're a,
nice.
you're a
It's
household name.
absolutely, yeah. We've grown now to a team of just over 20 people, and it's not without its challenges, but we're definitely growing to a space that we're happy with, and we're always looking to grow and just depending on the needs of our clients and what services we need to provide.
Yeah, absolutely. And now coming through the back end of COVID and the post-COVID scenario, what's changed for you? Have you seen any shift in the market or shift in your business?
Uh, Changes in the market versus our business. Okay, so I'll start with our business. It didn't really affect our business too much. We were still able to operate from home. One of our key benefits that we were always able to do was we were quite technologically ahead across most firms anyway. So we were able to work remotely and do things you wanted to just put COVID just forced us to put every single person at home and like everybody else strain all the resources that we had. But surprisingly, we had minimal downtime and impact that affected us in that respect. It did affect face-to-face meetings, but for obvious reasons with lockdowns, etc. But we found that clients adapted very quickly to using the Zoom and other technologies that we had. And to be honest, that's actually worked out to be a lot more efficient for a lot of clients. I mean, I still prefer face to face, and some clients still prefer to come in. But now we can still do a mixture of both, and it's not uncommon now for us to do Zoom meetings even like this. Whereas before that was kind of a novelty or a bit taboo, mainly because it was too hard for people to set up accounts. Whereas I think now most people have a Zoom account, have Teams, or have access to that type of stuff. As far as the market was concerned, look, we've definitely seen a shift. Really depends what area and what market segment we're talking about. I mean, the top end have always been the top end, and they haven't really struggled too much through COVID. If anything, some businesses have done very, very well. A lot of businesses, especially in retail, all that have suffered quite dramatically. A lot of our clients in retail struggled and were on, a lot of programs or, even with ATO arrangements and other bits and pieces. Some have folded. But post-COVID, we've seen a lot of confidence back in the market. And I was just saying to you before offline that there's a strong demand at the moment for small, medium businesses to even larger businesses, because we've been transacting in that space too, but mainly small and medium businesses to either amalgamate or join together or get bought out by larger companies. And I've been heavily involved in that space for quite some time. And doing that, it seems to have picked up quite a bit in the last sort of 12 months in particular.
You see that, as we move into these tighter times and there's talk of recession, whether we go into one or not, doesn't really matter. But do you see an escalation of that process as well as the market tightens a bit, a good opportunity for people to exit their business, as well as maybe those that have done well during COVID or done well in the last few years to invest in other businesses and grow by acquisition?
Yeah, good question. Look, speaking to clients that are looking for acquisitions or investors that are looking for that space. I mean, obviously, there's industry-specific acquisition. So if people are wanting to grow, then they're looking for the smaller business. So it is a great time to get out if you want to. There's money around, and the banks have still got some lending criteria that aren't as strict as they used to be. I mean, they are getting tough, but it's a lot more relaxed than what it used to be. In some respects, it can be harder, but it's generally a relaxed environment comparatively, which means you can borrow as long as it's a cash flow positive business and it's profitable. Most investors are just looking for an investment that generates a reasonable income, better than sitting in the bank. and earning minimal interest rates. So if your business is profitable, there's generally a potential buyer out there that we're seeing. As far as what does that look like for the future, I mean, if you want to, it's a hard one, obviously, but I mean, if you want to get out of your business now and you've got good, clean records, I strongly recommend you speak to your advisors around that, whether that be in the financial or legal or professional space, similar to what you do, Paul. It'll give you the guidance and the right picture that you want to post to potential buyers. I mean, if people come in and look at a sophisticated business and it's clean, it's systemized, it's got good books and records, and it's making a profit, it's ticking all the boxes, people love that. If you've got to really dig to see how it's making profit, people get a bit weary and you don't get as much, and the confidence is there. It's
absolutely.
And then there's the other end where you just don't want to touch with a 20-foot pole. So.
I'm actually quite amazed at how many people go into business without any plan of getting out of it.
Yeah, look, and I can understand that concept, because I mean, I got to admit, like I said, it's just been over 15 years I've had my business. So I could promise you, my first day of my business, I wasn't thinking about an exit strategy, despite having a background in doing succession and stuff like that. But at the same time, it's really it's an age appropriate question, I think. I mean, obviously, I was at a talk last week where a financial planner was telling me that from as young as 14, 15, we should be talking about retirement, setting up systems in place and how that works, and they're absolutely right in how that works. But it's a bit like, where do you put your money right now? I think it's a question of what's your priority, and everybody's priorities are different. If you're got no mortgages or no debts, or you've got a business that doesn't require a lot of cash flow to start with, etc., and you've got excess funds, then you need to start looking at what your retirement plans, and you can invest in those type of things. When you're grinding to start with and you're borrowing and your house is on the line and you've got a bit of mortgages, etc., you're looking for every possible opportunity to work and earn an income, and retirement's the last thing on your mind. So the planning, not just from a financial planning perspective, but from a retirement and succession planning, it's hard. But you're right, businesses do need to think about that, especially if they're in partnership. And we often, when we draft agreements between people from the day one, like a shareholders agreement or a partnership agreement, there is exit strategies that we put in there, and you have to, because that's going to be a contentious issue. But as far as what that is going to look like, it's only the mechanisms of how that works, not when or how that's going to be executed, for want of a better word.
Exactly. So, Paul, what's your biggest learning since you've been in business? It's probably a tough question, but
it is a very tough question.
Yeah.
Grit.
It's a great word, isn't it?
You need to persevere.
Yep.
There are days where you really just want to give up, or it's too hard. If you've got a good business model and you're good at what you do and you've got a great team behind you, don't give up. Just keep at it and adjust and be adaptable. You need to be adaptable. You can't be static. You can't be narrow-minded and I use this word loosely, arrogant, that you have to do it my way or there's no other way. I think that's a fail. And the other thing is, you've also got to one of our biggest challenges has been culture, and we've invested a lot in self-development and culture in the last sort of, in particular, 7 or 8 years into the firm, and as a result of that, right now we've got a fantastic team. There is minimal change on the horizon that we see. And if anything, it's a growth thing, and it's a place where people want to come. They want to. I mean, obviously, no one wants to work. If you can avoid to work, we'll stay higher if we can. But if you have to come to work, we want to choose, in our case, Angelo Legal, to come to us because they enjoy what they do. So I think the biggest learning curve has been, it'll take 12, 18 months, 2 years to just implement changes, and then you can undo all that in 30 seconds. And you need to persevere. And when advisors and people like yourself, Paul, that are giving advice in that space, you're telling clients or explaining to clients, do this, and this is how it works, and be persistent, just keep at it. And they're sitting there looking at this going, when is this actually going to work? How's it going to work? It's not quite ticking the box half the time. Why is it happening? and there's almost a disheartenment around that, and it's not working. And I say wrong, it is working. It's the little changes, it's the milligrams that all add up.
Yes.
And that is what takes, unfortunately, years. Now, if you're blessed and lucky that it happens overnight for you and everything goes to plan, well, that's fantastic for your business, and I wish you all the success in that. But majority of us and the rest of the clans will probably need to work a little bit harder to achieve those results. So I think that's been my biggest thing. I think it all comes overnight, and it's, you pass your. I mean, I was always told your first 3 years of business is your toughest, and then your next after 5 you're doing well and all that. I think I found my first 5 years was sort of the easiest. When I say easiest, it was difficult, but they were my easy years. And when I didn't have as many staff, and it was clients were minimal, I was good ratios to income, and it was a good setup. And then as you grow bigger, it's you have some hard learnings, and then throw in their finances and all the rest of it, and growing strategies and whatever that can really put some strain on you.
And that's refreshing to hear, that your learning is around culture of people, because at the moment there's a labour shortage, skill shortage, and I'm assuming it's affected your profession. And to be focused on keeping people happy, expanding their knowledge, helping them grow as people, must be a refreshing position to be in.
Well, it is, and it's one of the things. I mean, we just had a break finally with the Christmas with the kids, and I was able to go away with the wife and the children, my 3 daughters, yep. And we had a nice Christmas break, where normally I would be pestered over the Christmas break, or there would be some issues or things I had to deal with. Now, don't get me wrong, I still would take client calls and I still like to work. That's just me. I'm a workaholic. I just like to do that. But leaving aside my problems for the business would run without me, and could run without me, and did run perfectly without me, and minimal headaches and stresses compared to what I've had in the past. And it just takes time to get to that point. And I think that's because our management style is a little bit different insofar as we've moved away from, and especially in a lot of law firms, there's this hierarchical, and it's not just law firms, it's most business. There's a hierarchical, what I call management style of, the boss manages, and the partners are up here, the receptionist is down there, and the local. That doesn't happen in our firm. We've all got our jobs and we've all got descriptions of what we have to do, but we're all, we're all sort of a masters of our own domain, because you should be able to walk into our business and not work out who the boss is. The boss should be that you could walk to my receptionist, and my receptionist is in charge of the administration in that side of it. You wouldn't know any different, etc. My, property team's in charge of property, litigation's in charge of litigation, paralegals in charge. You should know. Let them have enough rope to sort of work with, and you'll find that the staff will appreciate that. And as I said, it's very difficult because it's hard, especially if you want to control things. How that you got to let go on some parts, and you got to let people make mistakes. And often it's your mistake, not their mistake.
Yeah. Oh, look, absolutely.
And that's the hardest bit to learn.
And I from a coaching perspective, one of the biggest challenges we come across is getting business owners to let go.
Yeah.
And understand that. And you've gone through that transition, which must have been an awesome transition for you. And your business is reaping the rewards now. So well done.
Yeah, look, it's a good thing.
Yeah. One last question for you.
Sure.
What's inspiring you most at the moment? What keeps you motivated?
Look, it's a dual answer for that one.
Yep.
I've never moved away from why I started my firm in 15 odd years ago, and that's I genuinely like helping people. There is no, small or big matters. I mean, look, there's obviously cost prohibitions with things to do with legal and anybody in that space. But as a general rule of thumb, I'll always give people time and help them and do what I can to help them. And it's good to be able to help people from a legal perspective and offer services. And that's why we grew our divisions, because we were referring on and doing certain things and just realizing they're not getting the same love and attention. They're still going to have to pay for services perhaps, but I'd rather them get the best value and the honest approach. And what I'm renowned for is being blunt and honest around sort of, where your case can go and why it's worth taking on or not worth. And, there was a time, and still the case, where even like in litigation matters, I'll talk 7 or 8 out of 10 clients away from litigation. It's not worth spending the money. As a business owner, you're better off investing, instead of recovering 20 grand and spending 10 grand, or recovering 50 grand and spending 20 grand, you're better off to throw that money into an investment or marketing and generate 100 grand. And that's a business owner's hat on talking to another business owner. That's not law. That's not legal process, and whether you've got rights or not. I'm not even considering that. And I think that's what a lot of business owners love, and why they return to us, and because they're looking not just for the legal advice, but the practical advice around how to deal with things. But what's driving, I said there was two things. So that's never changed, and I don't think that'll ever change. I think the day that changes is the day I have to hang up my shingle, and I close, or I give it to another person. But it's for me at the moment, that's still strong, and I instill that across all my staff. It's an expectation in culture that we do that, and that's what drives us. But as far as being very specific, what's motivating me at the moment, we've got a lot of, as I was talking before, there's a lot of mergers and acquisitions happening, and then we're loving the space of helping small businesses or medium businesses, just they're getting bought out, guiding them through that process, or people that want to get bought out, we're helping them through that process and transitioning them through that.
Awesome. And that's what it's about. You've got to find your passion. Your passion is helping people, same as mine is. So Paul D'Angelo, Angelo Legal, really appreciate your time. Thanks,
Paul. Appreciate your help.
Cheers.
Bye.